Hello, everyone. Welcome back, Joe and Boys and Their Toys. It's been 2 years coming. Sorry, I'm trying to walk through the disaster's garage. There's just so much stuff in my way. Anyway, it's been 2 years, actually longer than 2 years, and some of you probably don't even remember this, so this might be the first video you guys are seeing on it, but it is the Superhawk Turbo project. It's a 1998 Honda Superhawk 996 or VTR, I think, VTR 1000 or something. There's a few names for it. So this is where we're at with this project. It's pretty much done as far as the wiring, the intake side of the boost side of the system. The exhaust, I finished that a while back, but I do got to touch up some of the exhaust. I got to make a little bit better downpipe there. I just cut it off because it was sticking out too far. But the problem that I'm having is trying to convert this into a fuel pump carbureted engine, because as you guys know, and maybe you don't know, when you turbocharge or boost a carbureted setup, you have to apply fuel pressure to that system. And the problem I'm having is the fuel pump. It's just way too big. It's for a fuel injection system, 40 plus PSI, and I can't drop the pressure down enough to where the engine will run without flooding. It literally, when I turn the key on, there's the big pump. It'll just, even with the fuel pressure regulator adjusted all the way out, it's not even making it's not touching anymore. It's not doing anything. That's the lowest setting it can go. And the pump is still generating 8 PSI, even after I put a ballast resistor on there that dropped the voltage to about 8 pounds, or not 8 pounds, dropped the voltage down to 8 volts. And the pump is still spinning too fast to create 8 PSI of pressure in the system. So what's happening is it's just dumping fuel through the carbs into the engine, and fuel's dumping out of the turbo and the exhaust manifold on the turbo. So that's where I'm at. I didn't forget about the project. I just kind of got frustrated. This has been 2+ years. I think it was 2 years in November I started working on this in 2023, and I've been slowly working on it. I haven't been making videos on it because it's just boring stuff. The wiring is pretty much the last thing I did, and then routing all the fuel lines and vacuum lines. I mean, that's pretty boring stuff. Nobody really wants to see that, but you could see inside there, it is a fuel line and vacuum line disaster. So what I did was I did find a smaller pump. It's for a throttle body injection setup, which I tried to look for before, but there was none available on eBay. So I picked that up. It hasn't showed up yet, so I'm waiting for that to come in. That one's saying 11 to 14 PSI, and I'm hoping with that ballast resistor that I added, I'll add it if it doesn't need it, or if it needs it. I'm sorry, I'm confusing myself. So right now the ballast resistor is connected. So I'll disconnect that, put that throttle body injection fuel pump on there, and hopefully I can get the pressure down to 2-3 PSI at the most. I don't want it anything over 3, because you start getting into 5-6 PSI, it's just literally pushing the float open and dumping fuel. So if I can get it down to 2 to 3 PSI with the fuel pressure regulator, then I won't need that ballast resistor anymore, And if I can't, then I'll put the ballast resistor, and I can't cross my fingers. Oh, I dropped the phone. Can't cross my fingers. Without needing that ballast resistor. If I need the ballast resistor, then I hope that'll drop the pressure down to 2 to 3 psi with the ballast resistor on that throttle body injection pump. It's still here. I didn't forget about you guys. It's just been a long, tedious project. I can guarantee I will never do another turbo build on a carbureted anything ever again. So I want to finish this project. I just don't want to abandon it like a lot of other people do. Hence the 2+ year making of it. Plus some of that time I've been avoiding it because it's been driving me nuts, and it's just problem after problem. But let me show you a little bit of what I did with the wiring. So the wiring was pretty simple. I used a 5-pin relay, normally open 5-pin relay. So the 2 terminals are normally open, and then the relay powers on when the key is on, and then it will close those 2 normally open terminals. One of those terminals goes to the scavenge pump down here, which is also a diesel oil pump. That's all I could find for the money. An actual scavenge pump, they were like 300 plus. That wasn't going to happen. And then the other terminal goes to the fuel pump. So that's what I did there. I did tap into the fuse box back here for a 12-volt ignition source, and sure enough, one of the, I can't seem to open this without removing it, one of the fuse terminals in there said ignition on there, so that was pretty simple. I just kind of tapped into it under here and soldered it. And then every time when I turn the key on, this gets power only. When the key is off, there's no power, hence ignition source. So that ignition source powered up the relay, and then I just went right to ground. So whenever the key is on, it will activate the relay and power the scavenge pump and the fuel pump. So that was just a pretty simple modification to the electrical system. Nothing big, very simple. Now on the other hand, the fuel system and the vacuum system was a nightmare. I can only lift the tank so much because there's fuel lines everywhere. So that's the return line. I had to weld a bung, cut a hole, weld a bung, and put a fitting there for the return line. And then that goes to the fuel pressure regulator. Right now it's unscrewed all the way out because I couldn't adjust the fuel pressure anymore. And then I don't know if you could see this way back there. That's the fuel supply. That's a little bit bigger of a hose. And then that goes into the pump here. And then the pump sends pressure to the fuel pressure regulator supply. And then that gets branched off to the gauge, to the carburetors, and that's it. So there's one hose coming out, that's supplied pressure, and that's going into the carbs on the other side of the bike. And then all the way at the bottom underneath the fuel pressure regulator, you can't really see it, that's where the return line goes. So any overpressure will divert out of the fuel pressure regulator and go back through the tank. And then as you can see, the blue lines are vacuum lines, vacuum boost lines. There's more of them in there, but they're hard to see. I did have to tap into the, keep that shut. I did have to tap into the farthest cylinder to get the vacuum line, because they had a plug in there. Because on this bike, the stock fuel valve runs off a vacuum line on the front cylinder only. It does not run on both. So I had to buy a valve, same as the front cylinder had, and put it on the back cylinder so I can get both of those vacuum lines to supply vacuum and boost to the blow-off valve, and eventually I'm going to connect it to that as well. So that blow-off valve works on vacuum, and then it also, those same vacuum lines run boost reference. And that's what I've been working on for the last few months. I haven't made a video on this bike, and I don't even remember, was it like 6 months, 8 months? But I have been working on it off camera because most of the stuff I was doing is, trial and error, and quite honestly, very boring TV. And you most likely wouldn't watch it. But anyway, that is the update. Hopefully I can get you a video of it running next time once I get that pump. It does run now, but I have to pull the fuse for the scavenge pump and the fuel pump because it keeps flooding the engine. And if I pull the fuse, the fuel pump stops, but the scavenge pump stops as well, and it doesn't pump the oil through the turbo, and I don't want to risk blowing seals on it. So it runs, but not good enough to show you guys. I'm hoping that fuel pump does the trick. Anyway, keep watching, like, subscribe. Hell, I'll take anything right now. Most of these videos are only getting 3 or 4 views, so please watch them. I would love to finish this project. Until next time, see you guys.